Now it's time for 1inch keynote. Please welcome Samuel Lim, CBDO of 1inch Network, who will be sharing his insights on 1inch Fusion, a new standard for token swaps. And I would like to remind that 1inch will be the sponsor of After Party, which will be happening here, I think, starting around 8 to 9. Please welcome Samuel on the stage.
Okay, should we start? What's up, Istanbul? Hello. Thanks for having us. I'm the CBDO of 1inch. I've been in 1inch for about 2 years. And before that, I was a partner at a law firm, international law firm. I worked in New York, Hong Kong, Singapore, and now Seoul. I'm glad to be here. Istanbul is an amazing city. This is the first time I've been here, and this is like the home of Constantinople and the Roman Empire, and I'm just very fascinated how beautiful the city looks like. I think this place is really like the intersection between East and West, and I think this is a very good example. So this is the 1inch network. We're known for our DEX aggregator, but we're more than that. We are truly a network where you see we have our 1inch wallet. We also have our 1inch DAO, our hardware wallet, and I'm going to be talking more about Fusion later on. As you know, 1inch is the market leader. We have about 70% of the DEX aggregator market, 70% of the limit orders. Since inception, we've had 400 billion in total volume. And we raised 190 mil, and we have 150 contributors all around the world. So I think this one. There was a different slide. Do you have the other slide? But anyways, I'll go on. So does anybody know why we're called 1inch? Raise your hand. For those who don't, 1inch is actually named after Bruce Lee. Everybody know Bruce Lee? And Bruce Lee had this punch called the 1inch punch. And so you would actually you would be on somebody's chest and you would punch, and it would knock the other person down, right? That represents 1inch as fast, powerful, and efficient. So that's how we get inspired from Bruce Lee. Let me just go back. Sorry about that. So as I said, we're about 150. You know the history about 1inch. So in the DEX aggregation, we have a protocol called Pathfinder, and the Pathfinder allows the routes to go in various different liquidity protocols, and it takes different slices of each liquidity protocol that would give the best price. And so it's not a very linear type of a swap. It's very complex, and it leads to different paths to lead for the best price. And this is what allows us to be the market leader in terms of DEX aggregation. Instead of using a Uniswap or any of those very simple AMM tools, it goes into various different routes so that we can get to the best price for our users. So here are the current limitations of DeFi. As you know, there's the issues of unfavorable swap fees that we try to solve, MAV attacks, and complicated use. I'm going to talk a little bit more about MAV attacks. As you know, when there's an MAV attack, before a swap is broadcasted, it goes to the mean pool and stays for a very few seconds. And during those seconds are the critical seconds where bots can actually do what they call a sandwich attack, right? Where the attacker buys, gets the tip first, and then buys, and then the user buys, and then attacker sells, where in number 4, they make a profit. And this can cause you very disastrous consequences. So a famous case is when a Uniswap user lost $700,000 to an MEB bot, where it only made 260, and we solved that with what we call fusion later on. So we are at a juncture in DeFi where are we going to go? Is it the thorny path, the success path? So I want to give you some idea of where we're trying to go in terms of Web3. The way we see the future of Web3 is I'm going to put a comparison between Web 2 world to now. So, as you know, we already have our DeFi wallet, right? And we have our DEX aggregator, our main tool. We see the future of wallet as the Web3 version of a browser. And we, the DEX aggregator, the swap mechanism as a search engine for Web3. And so a lot of it has to do with perspective. I'm old enough to tell you that, when I was young, going to a bank like HSBC and Citibank was an actual experience. I had to actually walk to a teller. I had a bank book, and then I would go to the teller and tell me to give me cash from my bank book, right? I have kids who are 14, and to them, HSBC or Citibank is nothing more than an iOS app. They've never been to a physical bank before. Think about that, right? So their experience and what they think about what finance is very different from my conception of cash teller. And so in the future, my children will probably see, like, instead of getting a loan from HSBC or Citibank, they'll say, well, why would I go there? I'm just going to go use Aave to get a loan, right? And so the future of the Web3 wallet, it's going to have, different types of dApps where you can get a loan. You're going to see you're going to see chat features in Web3 wallets where you could communicate and also send tokens to the person who's verified on the chat. And we are connected by the swap mechanisms that we have. So if I have 1inch tokens and I want to get Aave tokens, I will use the 1inch DEX aggregator to swap the tokens, right? And so we are in that transition phase. You can't have, in order to surf the internet, you can't have just the web browser, right? You got to have the search engine. You need both to navigate the Web3. And so your children will not see HSBC or Citibank, but they'll see whatever dApps that you see, projects that will be the new financial infrastructure for the future. So we are at a crossroads. So in terms of what we're trying to build is what we call sort of like a euphemism, decentralized NASDAQ through fusion. So NASDAQ is the second largest stock exchange in the United States, right? And so their orders are filled not in an order book system, but through market makers like the Citadels, right? They fulfill the orders for you. So what 1inch Fusion is doing is to a similar model, but in a more decentralized aspect, decentralized aspect to that. So the 1inch Fusion has a lot of capabilities. One, I'm going to talk more. It has gas-free execution. It is done through a Dutch auction mechanism. It has what we call resolvers, but resolvers are nothing more than market makers, right? And all the, the market liquidities are in one place. The resolvers act as the market makers, and, they get the sources from centralized exchanges, DEXs, PMMs, and they provide and fulfill the orders. So one of the most important things is the concept of gasless swaps, right? So what we're trying to do is simulate more to the real world, right? When you go use E-Trade, they're not going to ask, do you have gas, right? To an average user, in order for them to adopt to the decentralized space, we have to simulate and make it more attuned to what's the retail user is using. So, if you want to attract institutions, if you want to attract the average person who wants to participate in decentralized finance, you have to simulate that more to the real world. And so we provide that, a gasless swap version in Fusion mode. Another important aspect what we cannot ignore is compliance, right? We live in the real world. We don't live in, the Garden of Eden where everything is perfect. We have to abide by the regulators. And what we believe is that it's not a matter of whether it's going to happen in terms of regulatory regulations on DeFi. It's really a matter of when will it happen. And so what we're trying to do is create an infrastructure where it's highly compliant. We are one of the, probably the leading compliant DeFi platform out there, where we do AML and also sanction screening in all of our trades and swaps. And when you work with the resolver, they are already KYC'd. And so an institution like JP Morgan, the biggest roadblock to any entry into the DeFi space is KYC and AML. As a regulated entity in the United States or elsewhere, they cannot do a trade with a non-KYC counterparty, because that counterparty can be North Korea's Lazarus Group. And because they're a listed and government licensed entity in various parts of the world, it is a cause for concern. So we need that. And so through Resolver, if JP Morgan want to do a trade, they want to swap, theoretically 1 million USDC for Bitcoin, they can safely do that using Fusion, because all of our resolves are KYC. They will know that the counterparty in their trade is not North Korea's Lazarus Group. As I mentioned, we solved the MEV issue through Fusion. You won't be subject to any MEV attacks because the resolvers are providing the trades. There is no chance for MEV bot to do a front-running attack and let you lose a lot of money in those trades as well. We are probably one of the most secure, heavily audited projects out there, and our Fusion is one of those projects. It's amazing. The Fusion project came out, over this past summer, and we had our developers come in all around the world in Dubai, and within 1 month, they created this product. We got it audited, and we were able to launch it. We're also working on cross-chain, swaps. It's in the works, but in the future, we will see all supported chains, including BTC and XRP in the future. So it's going to be based on Fusion for an atomic swap technology. As you can see in the slide, you will see that the orders are, the idea is for various resolvers to compete to fulfill an order. So the more resolvers we have, the more competition there will be, and the better pricing that will happen. So it is really the users at the center, and then you have resolvers competing to fulfill the orders, just like NASDAQ. So as I mentioned earlier, it's a Dutch auction system. There are various points where the Dutch auction will happen, and then the trades will occur. And this is an example of the Dutch auction mechanism working, and both sides win. For a swap of 5,436 wrapped E to USDC, each time there are points in time there in the bottom you see at the second mark in the Dutch auction where resolvers profit. But at the same time, during the profit, the users will also get the best price. So it is a win-win situation, for both the user and the resolver. It's built for retail and institutions. The retail allows for self-custody solutions. There's no swap. If my parents were doing Fusion, they wouldn't have to worry about understanding what a gas is, right? And they could get liquidity from various sources as well. As I mentioned earlier, we are complying with the various regulations out there. It's going to be very important for DeFi to adjust to the new realities of upcoming regulations that will happen. It is not an easy tackle because, how do you regulate DeFi? But the governments are working to find a solution to regulate it, because this is one of the blind spots on cryptocurrency that the governments have not been able to figure out. And also, it is truly self-custody, right? We just recently had a hack in Poloniex exchange, the FTX. The DeFi provides you security so that you don't lose any of your money. When the FTX hack happened, I wasn't worried at all because I didn't have an FTX account. All of my assets were safe in my 1-inch self-custody wallet. And we charge 0 fees, right? As our competitors are charging, we still want to give back to the community. And we don't charge. We want to grow the ecosystem so that more people can adopt Fusion and become the standard for swaps in the future. We've done great. We launched this summer, and we've already had 13 billion total volume, 1.6 million orders, and new wallets created. And we think that this is the way to the future for future swaps, and we see a lot of growth and adoption. So how to start? But, we have the DApp. You could join us there. We have the wallet app. But it's important, I think, for the DeFi community to embrace gas swaps. We think that this is going to be very important. We think that this is going to be integral in our lives, your children's lives, in the future of finance. I brought, and we also have a developers portal where you could actually integrate into our, get our APIs and create and integrate with us in the various products that we have. But I think the final comment I want to say is, I mentioned Constantinople, right? And so this was the home of the Second Roman Empire, right? It took, it was I think it was the longest running Roman Empire that we had. And that saying, Rome wasn't built in a day. But we're, at 1inch, we're trying to build a new Rome for DeFi, right? And it'll take one step at a time, and this is one of our efforts to build that, place that stone so that we could have a different future for all of us. Rome's impact throughout history, it affected us, impacts us still today in the arts, culture, politics, and we want the audience here to participate with us and help us build the new Rome of DeFi. And thank you for your time. Should I take any questions?
Thanks a lot, Samuel. Thank you.